Hello my friends, I wanted to show you guys a quick way not to get lost when you're out in the wilds hiking around. It's very simple and easy. It involves using your imagination and creativity and imposing it on the landscape just for a second. So for example, if I'm walking along and I pass by this clump of trees, I would imagine that one at an angle there. Just for a split second, what comes to mind is maybe like a sword sticking into the ground. So then as I walk by that, my next item that I would look for is that I'm actually on a deer trail. So I would imagine a giant deer just for a second. So now what I got to do is link those two pictures together. And it just takes a second to imagine a gigantic deer pulling a sword out of the ground. The more ridiculous your imagination is, actually the better you're going to remember it. You won't really remember like logical pictures just imagining a deer or whatever. But if you imagine a giant sword and a gigantic deer pulling that sword out of the ground, you'll remember it. It's ridiculous. So then the next thing I would say would be as you're walking along, now this only takes a second to just use your creativity to find something unique. I would use these branches, how they go over, and imagine a tunnel. So then the next image would be, since deer was the last thing we were on, I would link deer to tunnel. And just for a second get a ridiculous picture of a deer stuck in a small tunnel. Now you're going to remember that. And as I walk along further down the trail, we come to an actual, looks like a deer stand or something. So the last image that we had was tunnel. So we have to link tunnel to stand. I just imagine a giant tunnel on top of a stand or something weird. Just use your imagination, come up with a ridiculous picture. It only takes a second. You don't have to come up with like a storyline or anything, just the image alone and imposing it on the landscape and then linking those is enough to remember it. Now when you come back this way, it's going to be easy to pick out your landmarks, because the minute you use your creativity on the landscape, it keeps you engaged in the landscape. And you just remember those pictures. You think of one thing, so if you think of tunnel now, I almost automatically see the picture of a deer stuck in a tunnel. So I know my next thing I'm looking for is the deer trail. You can do this as many times as you want, for as long as you want, and just remember to keep your creativity going and have ridiculous pictures, and you'll remember.